Oh, good thinking. Wow.
Didn't forget this time. Do you happen to know the date of the next talk, Dan? Oh, you're frozen.
I have a calendar here. Let me see. I think I've got it. August. It's the last Thursday. I haven't written it. Oh, no. I see why. August 26th.
Okay, great.
And the one after that should be the last Thursday, which is the last day, September 30th. And that's it. Just as well. Oh, wait, I have one for October 28th. I didn't know. I guess so. Maybe October 28th too. I thought we only had 6.
Maybe it's turning into a year-round endeavor.
Yeah, maybe I just told the calendar to put it every month and I forgot to stop it. I don't think we've got one in October.
Well, depending on the weather and if we get some rain, I'm wondering when do the mushrooms start popping up? Is it really after that?
This week, you know, did you feel the rain? You see the rain?
I went and I grabbed my coffee and I went outside and I sat in it. I was like so I was so happy.
Yeah.
So happy.
Yeah, it's not going to end the drought. But, well, at 7:30, we've got one person. Dudley, why don't you come on over here and we'll just do it from my office, whatever.
Is Dudley a friend of yours?
Pardon?
Is Dudley a friend of? Hi, Dudley. Oh,
hi,
I see.
How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
We were late putting it on the forum and the communications department didn't send out anything this week. So we're hoping that folks attend.
Oh, I hope so too.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it regardless.
Is this recorded so that people can listen to it later if they miss the chance to hear it?
Yeah. So on the Nature and Science website, on the town's webpage,
right,
we have them recorded whenever I remember to press the record button.
Maybe you could put a reminder of that on PV Forum so that people who miss it tonight will think to look at it later.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I love that.
Because I sometimes can't make it at the time I signed up to see it, but tune in later.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's great. Yeah, there have been a couple of the presentations, the Nature and Science presentations that I didn't get to attend either. The last one was about climate change research.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really interested to go back and watch the recording of that one.
Yeah.
Is that the ice one with Leslie Field?
Yeah.
He's great.
She is great.
These have all been wonderful, and it would be great to have them seasonally so that, you know, when X, Y, or Z is blooming next year, we could tune back in and listen to it again.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Well, and also Dan and Pam have put together worksheets, not worksheets, but kind of like small field guides.
They're terrific.
I know. I feel like we should print those all off and then, you know, somebody can go, you know, pay $5 and that goes to protecting open space in town or, you know, creating wildlife habitat or something like that.
Great idea.
Wouldn't that be great?
Great idea. And after you're done making money, then you can put them up for seasonal use next year. You put the spring one up, the summer one up. Brilliant.
Yeah, fewer and fewer people. I think you're right. Nobody heard about this. They all forgot.
I think it's the time of year too when everybody goes away, or on a hot night, everybody's at the pool or something and not thinking.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all I can do to think on a day like this in the daytime.
Yeah, I was at the farmer's market today and nobody was there.
Really? That's surprising.
Yeah, it was unbelievably quiet. I've never seen it that quiet.
Wow. Well, it is the beginning of August almost, so maybe that's part of it. People cutting out early.
So Dudley, let's go ahead and I'll ask you a quick question. We've done this in a few of the, do you have anything interesting in your yard right now? Any beautiful wildflowers that are in bloom at your place?
What I have is mostly Cleveland sage and California fuchsia and heteroteca, those little yellow astery things, all planted by us, but I think in the wildflower category, if you were to stumble across them in the right place. But no, mostly I've got leaf litter and stuff that needs to be cleaned up for fire season right now.
Yeah, I was at the town center today, and the yarrow was just so absolutely beautiful. I made a little mental note to myself that I need to have a lot more yarrow planted at my place.
It's a great idea.
I feel like I should take notes whenever I see things that are amazing and kind of put a reminder in my calendar, right? Okay, in 6 months, go plant this. You're gonna be really happy 12 months from now.
Make your list for November planting, and then when they'll show up next year.
Yeah, exactly.
We planted stuff in a flower bed in our community garden to attract pollinators, and yarrow is one of the ones that are there. And it's done very well. So
and I'm trying to put in as much echinacea as I can, because I think that will get me through the late summer, you know, for the bees and the pollinators that I have here.
Great.
Brooke, may I say something here?
Of course, go for it.
Hi there, it's Peg. And
oh, hi Peg. Oh, you're muted.
I almost didn't get here because somehow the link disappeared from my email section, but then I went to the town website and I was able to transfer the link, so it worked. But plus, of course, the Olympics is going on, so a lot of people are diverted.
Yes.
They digress.
Well, the good news is we are recording this, so we'll make sure we just post it on the website so that everybody who's watching the Olympics or who's, you know, maybe sitting up to their eyeballs in the pool right now just to stay cool enough. That's how I feel. It's too hot to be inside.
Right.
Well, Dan, I'm so excited to see what you have in store for us. And thank you so much for doing this every month. You're such a treasure to have here in town. And I'm so grateful to learn every month from you. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and turn it over to you. Thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So once again, this sort of sounds like a broken record, I know, but I'm going to dedicate this series really to the longtime stewards of all these plants in this land, which is the Native Americans who lived here for millennia. They're the ones who made this land what it is and what we typically call natural. So they found many of the plants, the flowering plants and others, to be useful and nurtured them, they encouraged them. And so what we call natural, what we call native, is really, it came from evolution, but it was evolution also guided and encouraged and shaped by the stewards of the land for millennia. So the more I read about this, the more I'm looking around and I'm saying, oh, you know, that's there because, you know, it wasn't just sort of, you know, nature, it was nature helped along. So let's get started. Let me here, share the screen. There we go. There we go. Okay, so here we are. And I'm gonna start with a little review. If I can figure out how to go to the next page. Start with a little review of a few of the plants that we have looked at before. So this is in May. This is the this is the California buckeye. And let me look at my notes here. Now, here we go. So this is the buckeye back in May, and this is what it looked like. And then today, how do I do this? Trying to change, oh, I see, I click over here, okay. So this is what the buckeye looks like today. Very, very, very changed. The leaves are curling up, they're turning brown, they're going to drop off. So this plant is supremely adapted to the California Mediterranean climate. It's adapted to the climate that has been for the last 10,000 years, and who knows what the climate is going to be for the next couple hundred years. But anyway, it's pretty well adapted to the way things are now. I used to call this a remnant species because these buckeyes are so big that there's no animal now that can carry them around. The animal that used to carry these is the local camel. Camels evolved here and then they went to Eurasia and then they died out here. But so the camel and the other megafauna like all the large elephants and mammoths and this and that, all those things, ground sloths, they were fine. They could carry these around, but they all went extinct 10,000 years ago. And I used to think, gee, there's been no animal to carry these around and to keep these plants going. They're just remnant species, but no, of course. These were very useful for the Native Americans, and I'm sure the Native Americans took care of them. So the next one we're going to review is the soap plant. Here's what it looked like in May. Beautiful flowers, one night only, with the little flies, of course, finding it. And here's what it looks like today. It's pretty much changed. It still has the long spike. This spike comes up only for the flowers and then the seeds, and then falls off. So most of the year the spike isn't there. And you can see the poor little leaves are totally gone by now. And so this plant is very soon going to suck all of its energy down below the surface and just wait out the summer. But meanwhile, there are these long stems which have the flowers on them, and now they're fertilized into the seeds. And this is what I just saw a couple of days ago. These are the soap plant seeds. I'm really sorry about this. Help, help, help. How do I go back? Previous. Got to figure out how to do this. It's all I worked last time. So after the flowers, the seeds form and the seeds pop open, and then eventually they'll fall out.
So Dan, can I ask a quick question? What are your thoughts about us going and say collecting seeds from this soap plant and dispersing them around town? Would that be a good idea? Or do you think we should not try moving seeds around at all? What are your thoughts about saving native seeds?
I'm not the expert, but Dudley can chime in, or other people can chime in. My feeling is the plant probably thinks it's a great idea to spread its seeds lots of other places. So sort of what I tend to do is I would take some seeds and scatter half or 2/3 of them right around where I find them. So not on the trail, but in a place nearby where the seeds would have fallen, maybe slightly better place than if they just fell straight down. And then I don't feel bad about taking a few home or spreading them in some other broader place. I think, of course, that's what the Native Americans, I'm sure, did, and that's what the plants probably, you know, their drive is to thrive and to grow lots of different places. So I don't think that's at all a problem. Certain places like Jasper Ridge and other places have rules, of course, against this. So be mindful and, you know, don't pick your neighbor's flowers or whatever. But that's sort of my thought on the whole thing. I don't know if other people have ideas about that. But you know, there are lots of seeds. Plants make lots of seeds, and they don't all germinate. And if you know, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, all these different seeds fell down in this place, and they all germinated, of course, it wouldn't work. You would have way too many soap plants right there. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem to spread them around a little bit, but leave some for sure. So next we have, this is the sticky monkey flower in May, very vigorous. I don't know why that happens. I'm not pressing anything here. So this is May. And then in June, I sort of did a review and they're looking a little sad. And now in July, they are very sad. The flowers are still there, but they're soon going to just be seeds. So this, I would say, is not something you want to gather and put on your kitchen table. So the soap plant is almost gone. But even a fading plant can provide a gravity assist. So here is the soap plant. You can see the faded leaves. And here is a vine round and round and round and round and coming up. So the vine is saying, aha, here's a way of getting a little higher, a little closer to the sun. So, you know, even this old sticky monkey flower is useful for the honeysuckle. So that just brings us to the hairy honeysuckle, which we had in June, beautiful flower. Now today, well, you still have the vines. This was in Jasper Ridge in July, but you see these vines going around. At least one of them is a honeysuckle, probably all of them. So the vines are still there. And basically what the honeysuckle is doing is the flowers have been fertilized and they're shrinking and the berries are growing. So, you know, that's what happens. That's what a flower is for. You'll ultimately have the seeds and on you go. This was down near Corte Madera Creek and there are still flowers just a couple of days ago. So it's just hanging on. But basically the honeysuckle is last month's flower. So you can unmute yourself, anybody who happens to know what these flowers are. These are from way back. You recognize these flowers? We only have 3 people. Does any of the 3 of you have a guess on this one? Go ahead, yeah.
So I'm looking up at them and I kind of remember that, was it Toyon that you told us to look up and look at the flowers? Is it a Toyon flower?
Well, you are looking up, but no, it's not Toyon. Okay, I'll stop the suspense. Here we go. You knew this plant, you just didn't know the flowers. So it's our own native poison oak, which is responsible for a lot of preserving of a lot of land here, keeping people on the trail. So the flowers, of course, turn into berries, and here are the berries, and everybody knows the leaves of 3. So this is it. I don't know if the Native Americans encouraged this or cultivated this or used it even. I haven't done that research, but not everybody is allergic to poison oak. So I don't know.
When I was working in New England, of course, we have poison ivy there, but there were over 100 different animals that would eat the berries from poison ivy.
Yes.
So It's pretty fascinating thinking about that. And I wonder how many animals eat poison oak here in California.
Yeah, right. I think it's just an evolutionary accident that somehow many of us are very sensitive to this. But yeah, the animals, a lot of animals love it. It's a good plant for our native plant, one of our native plants. So now let's go on to this week, this month. This is a plant I left off last month, and I really should have done it last month. But this is our California Indian pink. There's another Indian pink back east, but this is the California Indian pink. And as far as I know, it only occurs one place in Portola Valley. I've seen it in Jasper Ridge and maybe the part of Jasper Ridge in Portola Valley. And I've seen it in Hidden Villa, but in Portola Valley, I only see it along Sweet Springs Trail. And it grows right along the trail, right next to the trail. So every year I go and ask Howard and the town trails people and the trail clearers, please, please, please don't clear that little spot. And they don't. So it's wonderful. They left it, they didn't clear it. And I think they did a little hand weeding there even. But I really, really appreciate their care, because typically these blossoms come out just a little after they clear the trail. So you really can't see much when you're clearing, but if you cut it all down, there's nothing left. And really half of the plants in the whole town of Portola Valley are within a few feet of the trail. And the other half are within a few more feet of the trail.
Dan?
Yeah.
This is one where this seed collection question is really interesting, because I think even scattering the seeds of this very small handful of plants right where they are would be an interesting experiment to see whether it would take and spread out any further. I don't know this plant well enough to know whether it spreads more by seeds or stolons or something else, but I would be very hesitant to collect seeds of a plant like this and take them anywhere else, just because it's such a rarity. But scattering them where the plant is and trying to spread it a little would be an interesting exercise. Though,
yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Dudley. And there's another problem with, quote, yes, you can gather seeds, is, one person fine, two people probably okay, but if everybody does it,
oh yeah,
and how do you know how many people have done it? And you can really denude the area if everybody starts gathering. And you're right, with this plant, I don't think you definitely don't want to take these away, because it might very well not grow anywhere else anyway, and it's just hanging on. So let's not just try to take
not only that, but I've looked for this plant to see what the seeds look like, and once the flower dries and disappears, I can't find the plant at all.
Well, this is what it looks like, and Helen and I were just up there a few days ago, and I forget, maybe you can see a little tiny bit of red, but you can of the tip of the flower, is all dried up. But I think that the plants are still there, but they do dry up. They basically disappear. This is a perennial plant, so a lot of plants in the Mediterranean climate, they typically shut down, maybe totally shut down above ground for the long hot summer, and then they'll just come back again after the rains. So I think this one might just totally shut down and disappear. Mm-hmm. Going back to the seeds, if the seeds fall on the trail, they're really not gonna help anything. So for sure, I would say taking a few and putting them up a little farther away from the trail, maybe a little farther along, but away from the trail. In previous years, there have been one or two plants below the trail. I didn't see any at all below the trail this year.
No.
So it's just really, really hanging on, like a dozen plants or something like that. So I guess what I would maybe do is let the town conservation committee be aware of this and let somebody who knows what they're doing take charge. I hate for everybody to go out and try to do something, you know, and we would all get in each other's way here.
Good point.
Overdo it, you know, everybody would be doing one more thing. So let me make a note and talk to the conservation committee.
Good.
Is there something we can do to sort of at least make sure this hangs on, because, you know, it's a lovely plant. It's nice to have, be sad to lose our one example. And there's a little insect there. Sometimes that happens. So here's another plant that I found. Actually, I found this on the Joan Targ Trail, and then I started noticing it around. I call it green everlasting. A lot of people call it green everlasting or California everlasting. John Rawlings called it California Cudweed, but it's a common name. You can choose your own. And I think I know which one I prefer, but it is in the everlasting family, so I would call it green everlasting. Pseudonephalium californicum. Nephalium is Greek. So if you know Greek, you can read this. And it's Greek for a tuft of wool. And the pseudo means it looks like one of the other plants that's Nephalium and so on. So here we have green everlasting. And if you look closely, each flower, I don't mean this whole thing is a flower. I mean one of these little things. One of these things with the yellow on it, this one down here. Each one of those flowers is actually a group of tiny little flowers. So this belongs to the sunflower family, that's the way they are. That the things that look like flowers that we call flowers are actually made of tiny little flowers or florets. Each one has its own petals, its own pistil or stamen and/or stamen. So this is the green everlasting. It grows in disturbed areas, and which makes it in some sense a weed because, you know, it comes up maybe where you want it or where you don't. The Native Americans had many medicinal uses for this. They used it for fixing wounds and for stomach upsets, made a tea out of it and so on. And, you know, the whole idea of disturbed areas, the way they would manage the landscape would be to disturb things, to make, rather than leaving one big uniform ecosystem, it was a mosaic of different parts, different stages of development. Fire was one of the main things that they did. They set small fires at the appropriate times. It didn't get away in the big mega fires, but there was little small fires that would, you know, get rid of dead wood, kill some bad insects, and create this mosaic of areas. And I'm sure this green everlasting still exists or is still common because of all that management. If you look closely again on that one, just looking in on the same one we just saw, and you can see there's just many, 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 many little flowers here. Each one of these heads is just many little tiny flowers. Now this everlasting will gradually dry out, and the flower itself dries out. And what you're left with is called a bract, which is just a name. And it's just some specialized leaves that are around the flower. And those things stay for a long time. It looks like a flower, and you could have a dried flower, cut flower arrangement. And that's where the name everlasting came, because this lasts a long, long time. You know, the actual flowers are wilting, but the plant is everlasting. So we were just talking before about the buckwheat, but that is one of the ones I've chosen. This is California buckwheat. There's some buckwheat grows in the desert in the really, really dry areas here. Other kinds of buckwheat grows along the coast and on the hills. And it's a very favorite nursery plant. And, you know, they're hybrids that people plant. So this is certainly blooming now. It's nice to have some things. I had a hard time finding blooming plants nowadays this month, but buckwheat is one. And this is Windy Hill with the fog lifting. This is along a deer path trail in Portola Valley Ranch, and you can see a house up here. So buckwheat is really used by a lot of native bees, honey bees, butterflies, insects, and even animals. So it's very useful. And the Native Americans also made tea, porridge, medicines, and I'm sure they encouraged it and made sure that it was thriving. So now we have some nice buckwheat around. Now you can see it has many flowers, but these flowers are larger. They're not. You wouldn't say these are all part of the same flower. This is not in the sunflower family. Okay, now we have Toyon. Toyon's in the rose family, by the way. But I was happy to see the Conservation Committee of Portola Valley chose Toyon as the flower of the week. So it's certainly a blossoming flower these days. You can tell this is in the Serpentine area, Jasper Ridge. All these oaks are serpentine oaks. Flowers bring insects. And you can see here again, small flowers, but not all part of the same thing. I took this in our front yard, actually. So we have Toyon does make a nice plant. You can plant it, and it does very well. Now, Toyon later on will develop into berries, and these berries last a long, long time. They will last all the way through summer, all the way through the Christmas season, and well into next year. So Toyon berries, back in the day, people used to gather them and decorate their houses with them. Please don't do that around here, usually not in your wildlands or in your neighbor's property, or on your own land, whatever you want. But these are called Christmas berries as well. Sometimes people call them Christmas berries, some call them Toyon. And some people they were also been called holly or Hollywood. And actually there's a little town down south that was named after this plant. And these plants, the berries last a long, long time, and they're wonderful food for the birds. So that we have our migrating robins that come through. This was in my front yard again. And here's a bluebird. And then here is cedar waxwing, another migratory plant. Dudley's a birder, so you can tell me if I'm saying anything wrong about the birds, Dudley. So cedar waxwing, here we have it picking a berry, and now it's got the berry, but now what? It doesn't have any hands. How does it get the berry from this nice position here into its mouth? Boink, down the hatch. So that's Toyon.
That is serious photography, is what that is.
That was fun. That was really fun. I really enjoyed catching it just at the right instant. You can't plan that. You just have to sort of start taking a lot of pictures and hope that one of them turns out, because by the time you notice it and press the button and the shutter clicks, it's way too late.
You've done it more than once.
Yeah, well, you know, fortune favors the prepared person or something. You have to just get all ready and hope it works. So here's the next guy. This is one that we can really welcome and sort of, it's the flower of summer. It's around, all the grasslands get covered with this hayfield tarweed. And it's got a wonderful scent. It's very, very sticky. And if you walk through it, you'll find that your shoes and socks become covered in this tar, but I think it's worth it. So this is Hayfield's tarweed. And getting a little closer, it just covers the grassland. And here is a closer view. What am I doing here? What am I doing? I've got to practice. I'm touching something that I shouldn't, whoops. Touching something that I shouldn't touch. So you've seen on my slides, but anyway, you'll see them again. So, but if you look here, lo and behold, this is multiple flowers. This is the flower head, another one, another one, another one. Some of these flowers have one big petal that goes out. That's from one flower. That's the next flower along. That's the next flower. And in the middle, there's a bunch of other flowers with no petals. So there's, again, this is part of the sunflower family. The sunflower, by the way, is the second most prolific genus of any flower. And can anybody guess the number one, the one that has the most species in it, the family with the most species? Give you a few minutes, and then let me see. Let me get a lot of people. It's the orchids. There's just many, 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 many kinds of orchids. But around here, of course, we have more sunflowers than orchids. Jasper Ridge has over 100 in the sunflower family and like 7 in the orchid family, and some of them they haven't seen for years. So the stem is, as I said, very sticky, covered in the sticky tar-like or sticky substance, and it's got these little tiny hairs sticking out. And both of those, the sticky tar and the hairs, help prevent evaporation. The hairs keep the air still right around the leaf, and then the tar keeps preventing evaporation. So this plant can stay in a very, very dry place and still, keep it going without losing a lot of water. So there's another view. This is a bee fly. And this is a good view. You can see all the different flowers. There's a little flower. If you look closely, this is a flower right here with the center of the flower and all the petals around it. And then on the outside, again, there's some flowers with just one petal sticking out. And then the inside, there's some other little kinds of flowers. There's actually 2 insects here. There's one here and there's one little guy over there. So that's what flowers are for, of course, is because attracting insects. We're just a side benefit of that. And this is my insect expert calls this a cute little carpenter bee. So that's the official name, cute little carpenter bee on a hayfield tarweed.
That is a spectacular photograph. Dan, really, bravo, spectacular.
Yeah, it was fun. Of course, I have thousands, so I picked the ones I like. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I've got. Any questions or comments? Unmute yourself and have at it. I've got a bonus.
Wonderful. One word, wonderful. And so enjoy this. Love it. Thank you so much.
Agreed.
And Dudley, you had a question?
I do about this one. The cute little carpenter bee is very different from the carpenter bee that drills holes in woodwork around my house, which looks like a bumblebee and is not green at all. Are there two carpenter bees?
Oh, yeah, there are many, many kinds of carpenter bees, right? I'm not an expert, but this is not the one that, yeah, we've got a lot of, looks like they're very, very, very round holes. Looks like somebody had a round drill. They're amazingly round in our old redwood supports. I'm sure they don't add to the strength, but they probably don't hurt it too much either. But you're right, Dudley, there's these big, clumsy looking sort of bumblebee-like creatures.
So
and this is
then
not that.
is cute little carpenter bee the scientific name?
Pardon? Scientific name?
Is cute little...
Let me read you what Pierre Martineau said, because he's the guy.
Okay.
So tarweed. So Pierre Martineau said, I think you'd like to know that this iridescent fly, which I called it, is actually a species of Ceratina, Ceratina, a genus of cute, small carpenter bees. So it's his word, cute.
Thank you.
And then I said, I should have known because it doesn't have something called the haltera, which is the thing that the flies have. The flies and bees and everything used to have two sets of wings, and flies shrunk one of them and had a little knob at the end. It's called the haltera, and they move it around that helps them balance and fly. It's like a gyroscope, but this doesn't have any of those. And if you could look closely, it has two sets of wings, so you really can't tell, but only it doesn't have a haltera. It's not a fly, it is a bee. So he said, that comment makes me quite proud of my student, smile. Carefully looking at your pictures at the highest resolution might reveal where you could see that the two sets of wings, but I couldn't see them. Another striking bee characteristic are the elbowed ant-like antenna. As far as I know, no fly has this. Has this sort of bent antenna. So ants have it, and these bees have it. But Dudley, you're right. There are many, many kinds of carpenter bees.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that at all.
Yeah. So if you guys are up for it, I have a bonus. You want a bonus?
Oh, sure.
So here's something called mugwort. And I never think of mugwort, never thought of mugwort as a flowering plant. But thinking about these talks, I said, yeah, look at that. There are flowers on mugwort. And if you look really closely, this is not a very good picture, but you can sort of see, like down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 flowers right here. There are 4 or 5 flowers here, 4 or 5 flowers in here. Guess what? This is a member of the sunflower family. So I'm learning something. A lot of sunflowers in this world. So it's got lovely flowers, but the way I know it is more like this. Well, this is sort of getting pretty sad, but this is the mugwort. The way most of the year, the mugwort looks like this. And I don't know about the Native Americans, but I know for myself, if I've ever touched poison oak, or I think I've touched poison oak, if I rub my hands on a leaf of this and then rub that spot, I think it does help. I haven't done a controlled study, but I've heard that it helps, and it seems to help for me. And I've also made tea out of just take a leaf and put it in some water, and I guess it's called an infusion. You can make an infusion. out of it. So this is Artemisia Douglasiana, and there's, oh, and here it is again. Lovely, lovely, lovely mugwort. And there's one more Artemisia, which is the California sagebrush. So this is very, very closely related, the same genus. Here's another friend of ours. We've talked about them earlier today. And here's some sagebrush and some other plants we've talked about. So anyway, that's probably enough for one day. But this is always fun.
Just really
Keep your
beautiful
eyes open
photographs.
and happy hunting. It's nice to be. I'll see you next month. I don't know if we can find 5 flowers that are still flowering in the month of August, but we'll definitely find out.
The asters will come along, won't they? Thank you. And thanks so much to the Science Committee and Nature Committee for having made this possible. It's terrific.
And if you want to mark your calendars for August 26th, that's going to be the next Wildflower talk. And all of these are going to be recorded. We know that a lot of people are watching the Olympics tonight. So we're going to send out a recording so that everybody, if they did miss it this evening, will be able to have a recap. And thank you so much to Pamela, who's also here this evening. She has been the wonderful person who's been putting together the field guide each month, taking some of Dan's best photographs and putting them together in a coveted wildflower collection that we now all are able to use. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Great
Dan,
program.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.